Of finding the domain and range of a function. I'm just going to highlight what our function is. It starts here, open circle, not including that point. It decreases and then it turns and increases and doesn't include that number. So let's talk about the domain. You remember the domain is your x values. So if I go along the x-axis with my screen, on the farthest left, on the x-axis, it starts at -3. So that's where it starts. And now we close our screen. And on the farthest right, it stops at 2. Right here at 2. So we say that our domain falls between -3 and 2. It does not include -3 because you notice this is an open circle. It does not include 2 because that's also an open circle. And that's how we write domain as an interval notation. As an inequality, we'd say x is greater than or equal to -3, not equal to, greater than -3, but less than 2. So there's your domain. The next piece let's talk about is your range. Remember, range is your y values. So if I take my screen and I go to the bottom and I come up, what is the first number on the y-axis that I have an ordered pair? And that number is right here at -4. And then I get rid of my screen and I go to the top. And you'll notice at the top it's kind of hard to see. It starts right here, or stops at a little bit before 5. So my range is from -4 to almost 5. So as an interval, it includes -4 and then stops a little bit before 5. As an inequality, y is greater than or equal to -4, but less than 5. All right, down to example D. Example D, its shape of its function has a curve. This is what we call a reciprocal function. You'll learn more about that later. It goes off to your positive and negative infinities. We do have an asymptote here. It's horizontal asymptote, and what that number is y equals 2. We also have another asymptote here that it doesn't touch at x equals 0. So now let's talk about the domain. The domain with the x values. If you imagine your screen, it involves everything up until right before that green line, and then everything right after that green line. So how you can say this is all reals except where that vertical asymptote is at. X cannot be 0. Now let's talk about the range. If we move our screen down, and we look at our blue function exists all the way down here up until we get to the purple. And then we do our screen, everything above that purple line. So our range then is all real numbers except for that horizontal asymptote. It never touches that purple line. So it's except, now remember range is y cannot be 2. It does not touch this horizontal line, but it touches every other number on the y values. Doesn't want to stop for me. You go ahead and stop your video.